Tomoji.
Hi, Mimi. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. Good to see you. Thank you for having me here.
Well, thanks so much for coming to talk with me today. It's just so nice to see you because I miss seeing you and all my friends and colleagues in person. So it's really, really great to just see your face, hear your voice.
Miss you too.
Thank you. Those of you who know in the woodwind world, Tomoji Hirakata is a famous and beloved figure as woodwind wizard and senior technical specialist at Yamaha Artist Services based in New York. So it's great to see you again, and I'm just so grateful to you for all the tremendous work you've done on my instruments over the years. You grew up in Japan. Where were you born in Japan, Tomoji?
I call the city of Maebashi, Gunma Prefecture, which is like a little north from Tokyo. It's just a half-hour bullet train ride going north. 5 hot spas, lots of mountains, a beautiful place.
Oh, that's so beautiful. You graduated from Yamaha Technical Academy as a woodwind and brass as well specialist?
Yeah, actually, I learned both, and it was a great, the school was in the factory. That's where so every day, lunchtime, I go to engravers, watch his work, and there's a factory in Saitama, very old factory. I think Yamaha just closed the factory, but there was a special, very, very special class. Only a few people get in, so I was very lucky.
That's fascinating. So that's one of my questions is, how do you study woodwind and brass repair? Like, what do you do when you're in school for that?
Great question. I think the Yamaha Technical Academy just, teach you just the basic, and you only need, for repair instrument, you only need basic. And if you go to the, field, I was after repair school, I was 9 years worked at the music store. That's when you really learn, how to handle student instruments, professional instrument. And it's about 10 years. You think you saw everything, but I volunteer fixing student instruments here at New York Public School, and it's so rewarding. Sometimes you get the letter from little 4th, 5th graders. Thank you, Mr. Hirakata. My flute plays better than ever, and that's so rewarding.
That's so lovely and generous that you work on school instruments, because especially at this time when so many of us are at home in isolation due to COVID-19, it's, getting our instruments to a repair person is not easy, not necessarily what we're going to prioritize to doing if they're even open. So what can we do if certain things go wrong? And I have a few specific questions, but first, if you have any general ideas, that would be so helpful to so many of us, I think.
I have a few experience. I had to talk through the repair process to the parents and professional artists, but it's just like try to make you cut your own hair with with scissors or something. So it's not gonna be successful. All I can say is I always say that think of us like a dentist. You go to dentist twice a year. Do that same thing for your flute. Your flute deserves that. So it's talking through. Nothing I can do from remote location. But one thing I can maybe tell you is that the flute skin is, from a cow, the animal intestine, like a thin layer around cow's intestine.
Is the skin on the pads?
Yeah, you see a yellow skin?
Yes, I do.
We call the fish skin, but it's not a fish. It's not a skin. It's funny. And or as known as gold beater's skin.
Oh.
Yeah, gold beater. So that you beat the gold to make a very thin layer of gold. That's when, we used to use that animal intestine. And also, they put the gas into it, put it into the like a aircraft. All the Zeppelin aircraft was using skin. So,
Oh, really? So
it's very airtight, and it could take a beating because a gold beater. So it could be, but it's so fragile,
yeah.
and it's reacts with the moisture.
Mhm.
So my first advice would be put the warmed air through it before you practice, before you push the button, press the keys. Just put the hot air into the body, so that in a few seconds the skin can stretch it.
Mm.
So that keeps from spreading skin.
You've recommended that to me before, and it's fantastic. And I would do it right now to demonstrate, but I think you'd be mad at me because I'm wearing lipstick. And isn't that one of your pet peeves? People who play their flute with lipstick, I'm guilty sometimes, and then don't wipe it out from the inside.
So yeah, that's one advice I could do. And same thing, wash your hands. Sometimes student flute. Yeah, I supported Curtis Summer Festival. Yeah, you did a master class. Mr. Kainer did a master class. I fixed like a 20 instrument in a couple of days, and none of them in a perfect condition. I was so surprised that I can find so many stuff. So I think it's so important practice with the good flute. Yeah, practicing eight hours with leaky flute doesn't get you anything, I think.
No, and it can creep up on you as well, I think, that kind of things that go out of adjustment. But yeah, it was wonderful having you at Curtis Summerfest when we did the Jeffrey Kainer flute program, and especially now, in the age of COVID-19. We were just talking a little bit about this before we started officially, but it sounds like flute makers are putting in some new ways of sanitizing instruments.
Yeah, there's some different technique, and we all know the UV lights is very famous for disinfectant. I think we started researching about ozone water, and so it's very widely available in Japan now. So it's probably more and more products, that kind of products you will see. It's a O3. So it's just it breaks up when you touch something. So the half-life is like 10 minutes in the water. But we also have an ozone generator that creates ozone air. If you got a used car, it's very smelly. The ozone air can fix that. So that kind of stuff. We just starting about those techniques. I recommend like once a year checking at least once a year, check the head joint cork. Sometimes I use Q-tips to clean the inside of open hole. You see some very gunks coming out from there. So that's 15-20% of the sound come out from the hole. So think about it. So
Wow.
like twice, you don't have to try clean the flute yourself. Sometimes you get trouble unspring, or the front of the pad gets really skin is gonna damage. So leave it up to us. So just try to see us twice a year, at least once a year. That's a good sign. And then also when you pick up your flute, when the repair is done, stay there as long as you want, like 5-10 minutes. Just try your flute and make sure it doesn't change. I think that's so important. And so that's one thing you do every time when you pick up flutes. Can I just stay here and play a few minutes? So that's why you're so professional. So that, yeah, every great artist knows how to maintenance instruments.
Well, thank you. No, I think I'm just so excited after you've worked on my instruments. I just can't put them down. So, but I think you're right. I think it wears in a little bit, and you want to spend a little time testing it out for spring tensions in case there's one key that stands out, and you want to ask the specialist to adjust slightly or that kind of thing. It is great to do that. So you got to work on instruments with Julius Baker as well, right?
My repair teacher did it. Actually, I never had a chance. I missed just 1 year
Okay.
joining Yamaha. So, but I still, yeah, can see some of him from you and Jeff and Mr. Gaynor and some other, many of his students we talk about so much. So I feel really close, with him. And also I have a poster of him on a, on my shop wall. So,
Oh yeah.
you
Well,
know,
he's so with us. I mean, he passed away years ago, but I mean, his sound is in my ear, and so many of the pieces that I play that I identify with him. It's just he's so close, to my heart. But in terms of the Yamaha instruments, the Julius Baker model is a model that I play on, and also my current custom-made model is based on the Julius Baker model. So I'm just wondering a little bit what it's like for you having worked so closely with Yamaha on the different instruments that they come out and developments as they happen.
you talk about Yamaha flutes. Every custom model is, handmade. We call it handmade model is obviously worked, assembled, worked by the human's hands. I mean, so that means, and the Yamaha flute is one thing. It's very important design fact is that the rib section that connects have a key posts and the keys. It's actually separated, independent. It's separated from tone holes. A lot of companies, rib section is connected, attached to the tone holes. This Yamaha, I think Brahmatsu is the only company to separate, so they're independent. So I think that's an important part of sound. I have to mention that.
Wow, so I play these things, but I don't always know how they work. So now that I'm holding my flute,
I mean, you don't have to know. Only a
right?
designer has to know.
So which part? These are the tone holes, where the keys are.
Yes.
Or if you want to point on, I don't know if you have a flute there, but oh, perfect. Yeah. So which part? What is the part that you were just pointing out as separate?
There's the key post sits on the rib, like
okay.
The plates that sits on, where the key posts are standing, and there's a long metal plate under on the body.
I found it now. Yeah, so it's this plate where the posts connect, and then the posts connect to the rods, and then the keys are on the rods.
Yep. Because most of the company, those metal plate is touching the tone holes. Yeah, it's easier building flute that way, but the Yamaha rib section is separate from the tone holes, all the tone holes. So that makes the Yamaha flute very unique. It is because difficult to do.
How does it affect the sound, do you think, to have the separate plate from
I think that part of the Yamaha sounds created from that design. And of course, the human being, we're making, let's say we are making this flute for Julius Mr. Baker, so that makes the worker more, give them more enthusiasm. I think they are more feel special. They're thinking about artists when they make instruments. I think that big part of finalized, finished instrument.
Well, that actually connects with one of my questions, because I know that you work on the instruments, all woodwinds really, of so many fantastic major players. But one thing that I notice as an artist is when I get my flute back from you, it's not just in perfect working condition. It feels like it's in perfect working condition for me. Like, you know exactly what I enjoy about the spring tension, so how taut and springy back to my touch the keys are, for example.
Oh, thank you.
I think there's something that goes beyond with the level of workmanship between the art and the science to this magic. How would you explain that?
Yeah. I try to watch artists and ask questions, and I'm so huge fan of watching you and your dancing fingers, and then it's sometimes you play slow, sometimes you play exciting piece, but your finger somehow I see it separate. Your part of your brain is just controlling like a precision machine, like a finger, so calm. And it's, if you listen, everybody listen to you, without sound, I think we realize that your finger is so great. And sometimes your finger doesn't go up so high. And also, my teacher a long time ago told me, don't make it perfect. I didn't understand that for a long time, but now I'm start to realize that he was right, because you need a repair work that holds long time. So if you studied flute long enough, after a month or two, things start to shift and start changing. So that's trying to, I could make it perfect right now, but if I do that, month and couple months later, you have a problem. So I try to make the flute good balance there. So now I kind of understand what my teacher was saying. Don't make it perfect.
That's so fascinating. Well, and first of all, thanks for what you said, Tomoji, about my finger action. I think it's just fascinating how you observe the player and almost feel a vibe of the physicality of it in a way that helps you fine-tune the instruments for us. I've always wondered about that. And Tomoji, I'm also so happy to have this conversation with you, to be able to ask you a little bit more about your other artistic outlets, because you are just so talented as a photographer and as an engraver on instruments. And we can see examples of this work on your website. We'll put some pictures for everyone to see, but I'd love to hear about it from you.
Engraving and the photograph was my hobby for a long time. And then when I studying repair in the Saitama factory, there was an engraver working on a baritone saxophone. Lunchtime, I go there, watch him work, and it was fascinated. And so the engraving that makes the instrument so special. And then I saw, like twice a year, I was making the projects myself about doing the practice engraving. So my skills getting a little bit better, but not, I don't do this every day. But I saw one instrument that belongs to a Johnny Hodges, which is a lead alto solo player from a Duke Ellington orchestra. And he owned a beautiful instrument, a Vito alto sax. And that alto is so special. His name on the bell, and mother of pearl every keys. And so that inspired me to build the alto sax just like that.
I've seen some stunning work on saxophones, and I guess there's a little bit more real estate on that instrument than flute. Have you also done engraving on flutes?
The flute I'm starting right now. So yeah, and you're the first one to know. I got the tools, and I keep my hands busy with that tools. So maybe a few years later, I want to do yours. So it's a different style of engraving. Yeah, it's totally new skill that I have to master, but I'll try.
That's so special. Thank you. And then your photography has featured by Getty Images and other really stunning images you've taken. I know cityscapes and when you travel. But we've talked a little bit about your interest in vintage cameras and film.
Yeah, my oldest one is Leica 3C, the model, and from 1942. And with a proper maintenance, it still works. Takes great pictures. It's same like a Bonneville, Louis Lott, the same handmade flute. So I think that's why I like fixing flute, watching, servicing old flute. I like it. So 100-year-old flute still works and makes a beautiful sound. That's amazing to me. So so many people works with me with electric division. They jealous of me because flute shape doesn't change for 100 years.
That's fascinating. Well, it does seem across your work with woodwind repair and instruments, and also with vintage cameras and hand engraving that you do, you have an interest and obviously commitment to just very fine and detailing craftsmanship, but also a sort of tradition of that.
I feel so lucky.
Well, I know that so many performers like me feel incredibly lucky that you work on our instruments, and I just thank you for your time today and chatting with me and finding out a little bit more about you for our listeners, and also getting some of your fantastic tips to do
Pleasure.
our instruments. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mimi.